Hey guys, welcome back. I haven't done a tool video in a while, and I wanted to share some of these tools with you right now. These are all tools for Subaru Vehicles, which is what I have on the rack behind me. I'm actually doing a clutch. None of these are for the clutch, but we're going to go over them anyways. Some of these I've had for a while. One of them I forgot that I owned, and it would have come in handy many times. One of them is not technically a Subaru specific tool, but I use it all the time anyways. And these ones over here I just purchased. So I'm going to cover each one of these individually. I don't know if I'm ever going to need these specific tools. I've gotten by for a long time without them. But if it makes my life easier, my job easier, then of course I'm going to try and buy a tool, even if it does cost me a little bit of money. So let's go over these tools and what they're used for. Okay, so all the way over here on the left, my right, is a giant Torx bit. This is a T70 monster. Half-inch drive, and this is used for removing the drain plug on the transmission, mostly on the manual transmission vehicles, but it also will drain the differential on the automatics. And I'm not sure if this is used on the CVTs or not, I can't remember, but I did have to use this one on the transmission that I'm working on behind me. The next one is a 17 millimeter, kind of a funky shaped wobble socket. And this is for doing brake caliper bolts on the Subarus. And I'll show you why this narrow neck here is important here in a minute on this vehicle. It's actually to clear one of the lower strut mounting bolts. And typically you have to use a short socket with an extension and a ratchet. You can't really get in there with an impact, and this will allow you to do that. The next two sockets I use all of the time, and if you are a Subaru tech, you have probably done head gaskets on a Subaru. That is what this 14 millimeter 12-point semi-deep half-inch drive socket is for. Now I did put a couple of niches in mine just with a file, just so I could mark 90-degree rotations, because if you've done Subaru head gaskets, you know that you have to torque those things down, and then you have to do several 90-degree steps. Since I have the torque angle wrench now, I don't really use those, but I used those for years. This is a 1/4 inch 14 millimeter 12-point socket, semi-deep, and once I break all the bolts loose with the big guy, I take this little guy, normally with a short extension. I suppose I could probably use a deep 14 millimeter 12-point, but there's not always enough room. But this guy on a 1/4 inch electric or air ratchet will zip those head bolts right out, speeds up the process. One more thing on this half-inch drive one: if you're doing a single overhead cam with the rocker arms in place, this will just barely clear. You don't have to take the rocker arms off until you get the head out of the vehicle. So big time saver. You don't have to worry about undoing the springs on the variable valve lift arms and all that other stuff, so that's a nice one to have. Next are the new tools that I just got, and we're going to practice on the vehicle behind us. We're going to find out if these tools work. They are for the same purpose, there's just two different sizes. This is for removing the lower ball joint from the steering knuckle. Knocking over my stuff. If you guys live in the Rust Belt, you probably have more of an issue than I have. I rarely have an issue getting those out, but I would say a couple minutes per ball joint. Typically, every once in a while we get one that's rusted in. So it's a two-piece design. This is for a Tribeca, and this is for all the other ones, I believe. It has an inner screw. It has threads on the inside, and it has a very coarse thread on the outside. So you thread this on to the lower ball joint after you separate it from the lower control arm. So don't go smashing the threads trying to get that apart, because otherwise this won't thread on. This threads onto that ball joint. You put this cup over it, barely enough of that sticking out of there so you can start to turn it. And we are going to turn it like we are tightening it down. And the coarse threads are reverse thread, so it's going to suck that forcing screw right out of here. And what it's going to do is, with the ball joint attached, this cup is going to push up against the knuckle, and it's going to suck that ball joint into the tool and out of the knuckle. It's going to give it a nice even straight pull, something you're not going to get if you're trying to separate that ball joint while it's still attached to the lower control arm. Same thing here. This is the one we're going to use on this vehicle. This one spins a little smoother. It doesn't have all the grease on it, but this is for the smaller ball joints that all the other vehicles except for the Tribeca have. And then next, I don't do very many control arm bushings on Subarus. I find it easier to replace the control arm, but just in case I end up doing more of them, these tools use the snap-on ball joint press. It comes with adapters, and this is for pressing the bushings in and out. These have the same part number, it looks like, and it's just the two different sizes. There is a little chamfer machined into the edge here, and I'm guessing that that goes inside of the bushing just to keep everything centered up. So I'm kind of excited to use these. Now I just need to find a victim to try it out on. Okay, now that I covered the tool haul, let's go ahead and try this ball joint remover on this vehicle. I don't need to remove that ball joint from the knuckle, but I got the tool in my hand, and Murphy's Law, since I bought the tool, I'll probably not need to use it for a long time. So since I have a Subaru on the rack, the lower control arm's already separated because I have the axle out. We're gonna thread this onto that ball joint and pop it out of there, see how easy it comes out. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna have to do is take this 14mm headed bolt out. This pinches the knuckle around that ball joint. So you guys in the Rust Belt are probably freaking out like, no, don't pull it out. It's gonna break off or something. Colorado, we rarely have an issue with that. So I'm gonna zip that out. If you guys are in the Rust Belt, you know the tricks. Probably heat up the knuckle, probably ruin the ball joint, or you just drill it out and put a longer bolt in. Okay, so that's out, and this ball joint should be replaced anyways because the boot's torn. I'll have to see if they want to put a set in there. Oops, I just popped the snap ring off of it as well. I'll have to put that back on the boot. So, new tool, threading it onto the ball joint. And the ball joint, now it's all the way tight, the ball joint will spin. And I don't know if you could pre-install this into the tool and still turn the whole thing to get it installed. I guess we just do it like that. Turn the tool, or the housing, around the forcing screw, and I'm just gonna kind of wiggle it around and try to get the boot. Now typically you're gonna be separating this because you're replacing the ball joint or the knuckle, in which case you won't have to try and save the seal. Normally people are saving the whales. Today we are saving the seals. This one's already torn, so it doesn't matter much anyways. Okay, so the tool is tight up against the knuckle, nice and flat. Now there is a fairly big flat section here. I don't know if I have a wrench that size here. I took my big crescent wrench home to work on my tractor. So let me see if I can find a wrench that fits that, and then we'll tighten this forcing screw. Okay, we're gonna try it without using a wrench on that, because thinking about it, this is going to be pushing up against the knuckle. It might just stay in place. So I am just going to use a ratchet, and I'm going to twist this. And this is actually, I guess you can't see the ratchet, but no effort at all. That popped right out. This Subaru is actually rustier than most of the vehicles that I see on a day-to-day basis. A lot of the other fasteners underneath here were rusted up. It looks like it may have been like driven through a creek bed a few times. A lot of sediment and silt. So suck that thing out of there, no issue, super easy. I will never fight another one again. I will just instantly grab this tool to pull out these ball joints. So I'm impressed. I expected to have to put a little more effort on that. This one came right out. If you live in the Rust Belt, yeah, you might have to spray a little penetrating oil in there first, but more than likely this is going to rip it right out of there. It's possible if it's really seized up, it'll separate the ball joint. I've never seen that on a Subaru, but you never know. I think all in all, I don't remember what I paid. I really didn't ask. I just said order it. I think it'll come in handy. So if you guys have any questions about any of these tools, you want to see them in action more than what we just saw there. I don't know if I've done any live videos with Subaru head gaskets. I have another one coming up sometime, I'm not sure when, a personal vehicle that has an engine knock. So we'll get to use that socket there. That one fits in the transmission. Bushings, if I get a Subaru in here with bushings, I'll show these tools in action. If I get a Tribeca, operation of this tool is going to be the same as this one here. If you guys have any questions or comments, put those down below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, live stream diagnostic, live stream repair, other repair videos, go ahead and subscribe, click that notification bell so you're notified of my future videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.